Hello everyone, welcome to Redbus US channel. In this video, we'll look at the H1B 2027 lottery predictions. What do we think would be the potential numbers that we're getting? So it's going to be a very different year compared to many years because a lot of things have changed, and Trump administration introduced many changes. So it's going to be a very different year. So definitely, we'll see where it goes, right? So this is what we'll cover in this video. We'll look at some of the key changes, what is present for this upcoming lottery, and then we'll look at various factors, right, that play a part, and then look at the actual number that most of you would be interested in, right? So without further delay, let's get started. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe for getting regular updates. So these are the two big changes that are coming up with this upcoming H1B season, which is wage-based lottery. Essentially, where we have a weighted wage-based lottery, we look at that. It replaces the random selection process. So that's one big change. And also there is an additional $100,000 fee based on Trump's proclamation from September that applies to applicants who are outside of the US. So these are the two ones, right? So just to dig a little deeper into that, right? So if you're a level 4 wage person, you get 4 entries in the lottery, and your odds of selection are about 61%. And if you're a level 3 wage person, you get 3 chances in the lottery, and your odds of selection are 46%. So level 2, you get 2 entries, and essentially you get 31%. Level 1, 1 entry and 15%. So what used to happen is everybody used to get around 29-30%, but now it's basically changed with this new change to the lottery process. So that is what has changed. And we'll have to see. So now when somebody submits the registration, they have to also give their SOC code and wage level. So this is one of the big changes. So the second biggest change that is actually for this 100, is the 100K fee that will be applicable for somebody outside of the US. So any new petitions filed, technically there's new petitions filed for this upcoming season, right? And who applicants are outside of the US, who are applying for consular, right? And again, all these things, right? So again, who does it does not apply to is basically who had approvals before September 21st, 2025, and anybody within the US, like F1 holders, H1, H2, L2, all of these, right? Anything within the visa holders, right? So these are the two big changes that will have an impact. We'll look at that in detail when we go to the next part, right? So we believe that there are about 8 factors that will influence the H1B lottery or H1B registration filings for this year. You can see on the screen. We'll look at each of these in detail so that you can actually go in detail of each of them, right? So the first one, right, what you see on the screen is basically we had H1B lottery for the last 13 consecutive years, right? If you can see, right, this graph, we have for the last 20 years data. Basically what you see on the screen is that, right, from 2004 all the way until 2026, right? So these are various economic cycles, recession, all of these, right? But if you see the last 13 consecutive years, we had H1B lottery, and all of them were basically done, right? And of course, since the registration period came in, it doesn't matter, right? You don't have the dates anymore. But just to give you a perspective, and last year for FY 2026, there were 358,000 registrations received. So again, the whole point of this graph is to tell that the demand is not decreasing, and we will have lottery. So that is the fundamental point we want to drive with this. So that's the first and foremost thing. So we look at the numbers and factors in the next ones, but this is the key message from this explanation, right? So now second one we're looking at is the wage-based lottery impact on registrations, right? So if you see, we just covered, right? If you're a level 1 wage worker, your probability of selection is dropping from 21 to 29%, 29, almost 30% to 15%, and level 2 pretty much similar, right? So if you are somebody like, basically applying as a level 1 wage worker, fresh out of college, employers may not be keen on applying for you because, the odds of selection are low. Again, they may apply, but this is something that basically would, deter employees, and they would probably sponsor for the higher wage workers, right? So this is one of the factors. It may or may not be a significant factor, but definitely we believe that, this will, have an impact on, the level 1 wage workers. So employees may or may not really take this approach because the odds of selection are so low with this, right? So this is one of the factors, right? Now let's looking at another factor, right? The biggest factor is this $100,000 fee, right? It was signed by President on September 19, 2025, and So USCIS does not publish any data about how many H1B registrations came in from within the US and how many came from outside the US. They don't give that, right? And they don't give any differentiation at all. So what we have done, we've looked at like the previous years H1B approvals that were in consular processing, and you can see this is the table from that, right, from the official data, and about 46% of that were in consular processing. So let's say last year about 358k. If we do that, 46% of that is 165k. So potentially, if we take up the entire percentage, there are about 165,000 registrations that can be impacted, because I don't know how many people really would pay $100,000 more. I mean, recently some data was saying it's very a double-digit number, less than 100 if I'm not wrong. Where employees really paid. So it's really like very, very minimal, right? Probably very, very minimal for extraordinary people that they're doing. And so that's the reason. So essentially this entire 40% would eliminate it. But even let's say, because we don't know if all of them were real outside of the US. So even if you take 70% of them conservative estimate, that will come to 115k. So basically this tells that out of the total number of registrations, this number could literally be wiped out. They may not apply because if they get selected, they have to file and they have to pay 100,000 fees, right? So this is one of the biggest factors, and I think this is going to have a very big negative impact on discouraging employers who are outside of the to apply H1B for somebody outside of the US. So I think we can expect anywhere about 115k less from this, right? So the next one is the US economy, right? So if you see this line that you see is the unemployment track. It's kind of trending upwards. If you see the last 3 years graph, I mean, you may not notice it's pretty high, but if you see, it's definitely not really like coming down. So unemployment has risen to 4.3, but the GDP is not really growing as big also. I mean, kind of it's cyclical, but the point is it's not as big as what you see, that it will have an impact to grow that, right? So what it means is that if there are less number of jobs and the economy is growing less, there will be less number of H1B jobs. I mean, it's a basic logic, right? So what we see that due to slower hiring across tech and other heavy things, right, heavy sectors, so we may basically see lesser demand. I mean, we already see AI disrupting the market. A lot of jobs are getting redundant, because entry-level jobs, because of Claude and ChatGPT and all sorts of things, right? So this could have a negative impact as well, because tech jobs are the ones that will be heavily impacted as well, right? So that's what we believe, right? So this will basically reduce the number of H1B filings. Now, the other one we are looking at is the total number of international students in the US, right? Either they are studying or OPT, right? So this is what you see is the open data report, open doors data report. So if you see, about 4.4% was up, and if you see that 294,000, almost 300,000 people or students on OPT, that's a significant number of students, right? Most of these students are either getting either pursuing a PhD, or if they are in bachelor's, may pursue masters. So or good amount of them, would be looking for, even half of them would be looking to work, right? So the demand is not going to be reduced, from the student standpoint. So this definitely adds up to the registrations, total number of registrations, and the, the registrations count. So this is going to be I would say a factor that will add up registrations. Now, what has also happened in terms of H4 visa holders, there have been some changes, right? So they eliminated the 540-day automatic EAD extension. What it means is that now somebody on H4, if they don't get EAD on time, then they might stop working. The current EAD processing times are 6 to 12 months, and some of them may not get time. I know personally many people who gone through this challenge, who have been stuck. Because if they leave the country and come to their home country, they may not get a visa standing appointment. So kind of stuck in the middle. So this is basically adding up to H4 visa holders to pursue alternative paths, right? So basically, and also H4 EAD, some uncertainties around that program and all sorts of things. So we don't have any regulation as such that is focusing on removing it at the moment, but they made it much more harder with all of these changes, right? So this factor increases the H1B registration demand, because many of these H4 visa holders already in jobs want to get into H1B so that they don't have that, right? So that is why we believe that this is going to be a factor that will add up H1Bs, right? Now, the other factor is the past applicants who are reapplying for H1Bs, right? Again, the barrier to entry is very less, like $215, not much, right? They're going to just try. So if you already applied and you haven't got, you will just apply again. And then it's a very simple process, right? You'll apply again. So I guess employers will continue to apply to get like, if they get lucky, right? So there are people that I know who applied for like 8 to 9 times, because it's unfortunate, but that is what it is, right? So but that is how it's been going on, right? So overall, there are people who did not get selected in the last many years, and they will be still continuing to apply, and we can see that it will add up, right? So this will increase the H1B registrations, right? So the last factor that we think are the Trump administration policies. If you have been following, we have no social media vetting. They've eliminated Dropbox, and also there is a global visa slot shortage. What it adds up is a lot of uncertainty for H1 or employees, right? If you're going to like send them abroad, or if you're going to get somebody from abroad, so the overall environment around H1Bs is getting very, very strict and not very encouraging for employers. So this factor around uncertainty is going to have an impact, and many people or many employers may or may not file. This will reduce the number of registrations, right? So that is the idea. So overall, what we see, right, looking at all of these factors, we come to the number, right? But if you see, basically in the last, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, last 7 years, right, since we had this H1 registrations concept, you see there is so much of fraud that has been rigged, 780,000 and all of that, right? And then we changed the lottery process, and then it has come down, beneficiaries intake process. So now what we see that this year it will be further less than this, much less than this, because of this 100K fees and all of that. So what we see is, we can expect anywhere from 200 to 250,000. That's what we are expecting, and we could be wrong, but this is what we're expecting. We've been pretty much on the dot for many years, but again, we also missed by a big factor in last year, actually, I would say, right? So I think the 100K fee is the biggest one. That is the deterrent, right? And the wage-based system, slightly, yes, right? Overall, there's going to be 30 to 40% decrease in from the last years, right? So this is what we see, what will happen for this year. So yeah. In terms of timelines, feel free to leave your predictions in the comment section, so that we can have a discussion right there. So in terms of timelines, basically, starts from today, March 4th, and 19th is when it closes. The results will be coming in between 20 and 31st. And then the filing window begins, and then the deadline and all of that, right? So, yeah. So this is the overall timeline, folks. So hope you got an idea of, the current H1B process, what to expect this season. So that's it, folks. So thank you for watching. Do subscribe, getting regular updates.